Hey guys, it's Nicole, and I am back with another layout featuring the Simple Stories collection, So Happy Together. And I am still plugging along with my family photos from 2019, as well as the Scrapbook Generation sketchbook, the whole sketch volume 2. For the photos that are basically just my son by himself, I chose the sketch labeled Sketch 19 from the book. And I just kind of went with my usual method. I will go through, print my favorite photos, figure out how many I have, go through, find a sketch that's close to that amount of numbers because I can always go back and add more. Or in this case, I went and um, edited it to where it was two 3x4 photos onto one 6x4 canvas to squeeze in an extra photo. And then I do also look at whatever type of embellishing area that they have shown on their sketch, because this would have been the fourth time that I'm sitting down and playing with these same products. So at this point, I'm getting a little tired of it. And my go to when I start feeling like that, and it's mostly I'm just tired of sort of seeing the same things, and I think that's kind of normal. It's similar to like if you were doing a big layout kit from them where, typically you're excited to start it, 3, 4 layouts into like a big kit, you're kind of like either over it or you need to take a break type of thing. So when I start feeling like that, I tend to go revisit some of my favorite tools that I like to use, and they're pretty basic things, but they're my favorites. So because they are my favorite, it kind of reignites that like creative spark. And unfortunately, one, possibly two of them, I don't think you can get anymore. I specifically speaking about that 3x4 notebook die that you see there. That is very old for my favorite things. I want to say by the time I discovered it, it may have been retiring, so I may have picked it up on a sale. Um, I know anytime I've done like organizing things and stuff, sharing my room, I know it seems like I have a lot of stamps and dies, but I do tend to shop retirement sales, clearance sales, destashes from people, that type of thing. I feel like if you can get something for a deeply discounted price, it kind of alleviates the cost of this hobby. So I'm debating about emailing my favorite things because they recently started doing this thing where they bring back popular supplies that have retired and they sort of do another run of them for a small period of time. And I found out that die that I have, they actually made one that was horizontal to where it was 4x3 and the notebook edge was on the short side, or I mean on the long side. So I kind of want to email them and ask them if they would consider bringing that back as part of that series of their manufacturing that they have, because I feel like every time I use this die, I get comments on my videos, where can you find something like that? Okay, if it's sold out, like, is there something similar? And I have tried to find something similar. I even found one that I thought was going to work on AliExpress, and by the time I got it, it ended up just, it wasn't the right size. Like, it was a little bit smaller and it just didn't have the same feel. This one I absolutely love because you can take, like I'm going to show here in a second, you can take the 3x4 cut aparts and cut them out with this, and it just gives them a completely new look. And I don't know if anybody caught that, but I actually ran that through my Sizzix upside down. So I ended up leaving an impression on, like, how you're supposed to keep one of your plates like dirty and gross, and you cut on that one, and then you keep like one really nice, and then you kind of rotate them out. Well, now they're both kind of messed up, but um, it's one of those things that I love about this die. So when I was looking at the papers and what I had left, I hadn't used any of the cut aparts because I really just didn't like them. So I chose to pull this die out, go ahead and cut it, and basically I'm just getting that aqua green color peeking out from behind some white cardstock. I didn't care what the picture was. I basically just went through them and picked one that had a solid color around the edge and then went with which color I preferred. This U die cut is from a Sign and Says stamp um, not collection, I can't think of what word I'm trying to go with. I'll post a link below because I think that one is still available on their site, but basically I bought the whole bundle, so it was like a background stamp that had text about nice phrases all around the word you. There's another stamp set that has phrases in that big word you, and then the die cut for you. And then this is a new stamp. Well, I don't know when it came out, but it's new to me. I ordered some stamps from Carrie Bradford recently, and this one I think is on the grid. Yes, this one is on the grid, and to me it's just a good basic. Like, basically you can make your own grid paper. And because I was running low on the tone-on-tone papers, I decided to basically make my own for my journaling spot. And I just used banana ink from Lawn Fawn. It's just a nice pale yellow ink. And I ran my white and yellow stamped die cut. I ran that through my printer with my journaling on it. So it's basically mimicking grid pattern paper, I guess, which typically is what I would use for my journaling, but in this instance I was able to pull out some different supplies and kind of make my own. And I feel like doing things like that, again, sort of reignites that creative spark of constantly seeing the same supplies over and over again, and just kind of being able to look at them differently, or maybe in this case manipulate them and kind of change up the look. And then for the U title and then these little hearts that I'm gluing down, I used a Lawn Fawn heart die set, and I basically ran it through my Big Shot a whole bunch of times with some Nina Solar White cardstock, and I layered 3 or 4 of those together, and then I did the wood grain pattern paper from the collection as the top layer, and just kind of made my own chipboard hearts because, again, I mentioned this in one of the previous videos for this, the hearts are kind of like my favorite in this collection, and once you've used 5 or 6 of them, you don't have very many left. So in this case, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to make my own, and that way I can make them the size that I want and the color that I want. And like in this case, for the wood grain pattern paper, I had a ton of these like really small scraps that I don't think I would have been able to incorporate in a layout. So in this instance, I was able to go ahead and use them and not sort of have these little scraps left over at the end. That is something that I'm kind of noticing. I think had I been thinking about this method when I purchased the collection, I would have gone ahead and purchased the basic papers that go with it, which are basically the tone-on-tone, more solid-based, double-sided papers that they have that coordinate with the collection, because I'm finding that between the sticker sheet, the chipboard sheet, and the 2 die-cut packs, I am very embellishment heavy and I'm running low on paper. So from here on out, I'm gonna probably have to start getting a little bit more creative with my paper usage and what I end up doing with that kind of thing. So pretty much I've done 4 layouts with the collection, and this is like my pause point, and then I'm gonna kind of go look back through everything and get another game plan for another 2 or 3 layouts and kind of rinse and repeat that. These Polaroid die cuts are another set from My Favorite Things. Again, when I upload this video, if the product is still available, I will post a link below. These Polaroid frames I have used many, many times. They are, again, one of my favorite basic things. I am, again, using white cardstock, scraps from the pattern papers, and basically making my own little like chipboard embellishment piece. And then I took another Carrie Bradford stamp set called Hey Kiddo, and I just took this phrase that said I would walk across Legos for you, and it pretty much stood out for me because I mentioned Legos in the journaling for my son. So I just thought it was kind of a fun way to bring it over to the right. Again, with these sketches being focused on full-size photos, a lot of them tend to have more areas for embellishment on one side, and then the other side is kind of bare in a sense. Like the sketch didn't show any pattern paper, and I I ended up, not adding any powder paper. I could have easily added some border strips or something like that, but I ended up just kind of going with it. I did change up a little bit as far as embellishing on the right, and then I just used some of the leftover pieces that I had from when I was working on the left side. So I hope you guys are enjoying this sort of little mini series, if you want to call it that, while I work through all these things and kind of challenge myself, and I will catch you guys in another video shortly. And as always, I thank you for stopping by.